Today we're going to talk about comparing and ordering numbers, okay? For example, if we were to compare those two numbers, and they wanted to know which is greater, which is less. In other words, they want us to put the inequality symbol in there. Now, real quickly, let's talk about our inequality symbols. We have what we call inequality symbols. Okay, and that's just a fancy term for what you already know. Okay, is less than sign or symbol, is greater than sign or symbol. Okay, that's what we're, and then obviously the one that everybody should really be familiar with because we've had it forever and ever is the equal sign. Okay, what they're wanting you to do today in one instance is to take and put one of these signs, one of these inequality signs, in the blank to tell whether or not which number is greater, which number is smaller. Okay, so as we look at these two numbers, okay, the first step that you always need to make sure, step one, is to make sure each of the numbers have the same amount of digits. Okay, it's to make sure that each number has the same amount of digits. Okay, how many digits does the first number have? How many? Three. How many does the second number have? So they have the same amount of digits. Okay. Secondly, list the numbers vertically. Okay, so I'm going to take those two numbers and list them vertically. Okay, the reason I do that is because it forces me to line up all the correct digits. Obviously, when you're lining up decimal numbers vertically, you always want to have the decimals lined up, okay, like we've done here. You want these to be lined up over each other, okay? And what that does is it helps you identify the numbers that you need to be looking at. In other words, these two numbers are the same, so I can't compare them. These two numbers are the same, so I can't compare those. The two numbers that are not the same are these, 3 and 4. Okay? Now, obviously, this is a fairly simplistic example. Which is larger, 3 or 4? 4. Okay? So this number is greater than the 1.33. Okay, having said that, then what I need to put in the answer blank is the less than sign. Okay, now I don't know how your teachers have taught you this signs and all this, but my teacher back many, many years ago, okay, said you always treat this as the mouth of the alligator, and the alligator always wants to eat, the bigger number. Okay. Like I said, I don't know how your teachers have described it to you, but you do also need to know how they're named, okay? Is less than points to the left. Less than, left, okay? Points here to the left. Is greater than points to the right, okay? So obviously if you can remember one of them, then the other one you should know just by default, okay? So that's the two main things you have to be concerned about when you're comparing or ordering numbers. Okay? Now, understand this. Let's say I had these two numbers and I'm comparing them. Okay? let's say I'm comparing 1.9 and 1.876543. Okay? Now, most of the time people look at this, or not most times, sometimes people look at this and they go, well, this has got to be bigger because it's got more numbers. Okay? Well, that's why I always say make sure they have the same amount of digits. So if I was doing that with this problem, I would take 1.9 and I would take 1.876543, and the first thing I need to do is make sure they have the same amount of digits. Okay, now they have the same amount of digits, I can compare them. Okay, but realistically it doesn't take a lot to compare them because the first numbers are the same, then the second numbers are different. Okay, which is larger, 9 or 8? 9. So therefore, we put the is greater than sign in the blank because 1.9 is larger than the others. Okay, so don't assume that just because a number has more digits to it that it's a larger number, because that's not the case at all. Okay. All right. Now, let's look at ordering numbers. Okay, so that was comparing numbers. Let's look at ordering numbers. Let's say I have these numbers here. 97.5, 9.75, 9.075, and 90.7. Okay. When you're ordering numbers, most of the time, let me make sure these directions tell us to do this. Yeah, I think, yeah, they flip it here. Most of the time, they want you to order the numbers from least to greatest. Okay? So in this particular case, we want to order the numbers from least to greatest. Now, it's very important that you read your directions when we do this work tomorrow in class. Okay? We're covering it today, and then we'll do the work on it tomorrow during class. It's very important that you read the directions. Okay? Because one set of the directions is going to say order the numbers from least to greatest, and the other set of directions is going to say order the numbers from greatest to least. Okay, so make sure you read the directions and don't just assume that it's supposed to be in a certain order. Okay, now, same thing here that we just talked about. We want to list the numbers vertically, and we want to make sure all numbers have the same amount of digits. Okay, so when you list the numbers vertically, by aligning the decimals. Okay, so in each number, I'm going to line up the decimal. So we have 97.5, then we have 9.75, then we have 9.075. Let me do that there. Then we have 90.7. Okay, so my decimals are aligned. Okay, now the second step is to make sure that all the numbers have the same amount of digits. Okay, so to do that, we're simply going to add a 0 there because it doesn't change the number. Add a 0 there, doesn't change the number. Add a 0 there. Okay, and then we add 2 zeros here. Okay, so now they all have the same amount of digits. We're ordering them from least to greatest. Okay, so you want your smallest up to your largest. Okay, so as we look at this, here's 2 9s right here. So obviously those are my 2 largest numbers. Okay, but they're both the same. So therefore, I have to move to the second digit. As a 7 and a 0. Okay, a 7 and a 0. Which is larger, 7 or 0? 7. So that means my largest number will be 97.5. My second largest number, 90.7. And I can mark those 2 numbers out. Okay, and that moves me to the second 2 numbers. They both have a 9. But once again, if I go to the number after that, I have a 7 and a 0. So which is larger, 7 or 0? 7. So 9.75 goes there, and 9.075 goes there. And that is your answer from least to greatest. Okay? Now, I want you to try number 19 on your own. Okay, so in your book, we're on Section 3, Chapter 1, Lesson 3, Chapter 1. On the right-hand side of that lesson, go ahead and look at number 19. Write the original problem. Okay, write down the original problem. Then show your work underneath the problem, which showing your work is this part here. Okay. I wrote the original problem here. Okay, showing your work is just, you don't have to write the words out. This is showing your work right there. Okay, make sure they have the same amount of digits, line them up vertically with their decimals. Okay, and then obviously come up with your answer and put it underneath the problem. Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. All right, let's look at this one. There's your original problem. 0.0625, 0.002, 0.027, and 0.207. Okay, as we put them vertically, okay, I'm not going to include the first 0 in front of the decimal. I'm just going to list them with their decimal. Okay, now I'm going to add a 0 to each of these because they don't have the same as the first one. Okay, so as we look at the first digit, okay, well, the first digit, obviously there's 3 zeros and a 2. The 2 is going to be larger than the 3 zeros. Okay, and so that's our first one. I mean, that's our largest one, okay, not our first one, but our largest one. Okay, then as we move to the next group, okay, I can mark this one out, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put it over here. Okay, now the next one, we have a 6, a 0, and a 2. So which is larger, 6, 0, or 2? 6. 6 is larger, so that gives me 0.0625. And that's the second one. Okay, now we move, we don't really have to move, so this one's gone. So which is larger, 0 or 2? 2. So this is my third one, and that is 0.027, which means 0.002 is the smallest. Okay, and that would be your answer. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. Let's look at some more comparing ones. All right, those two numbers. Which sign will go in the blank? The less than sign, is greater than sign, or is equal sign? Figure it out. When you have the answer, raise your hand. All right. Jonah, what'd you get? Greater than sign? Okay. Who got anything else? Anybody else? Emma? Equal. Anybody get anything else? Yes? Okay. It's the equal sign. Okay? The reason it's the equal sign is because if I put those two numbers together vertically, okay, and I make them have the same amount of digits by adding a 0, then they're exactly the same number. Okay? And so that's why they are equal. Remember, putting a 0 at the end of a decimal number, key there is a decimal number, okay, or putting it in front of the decimal of a decimal number has no effect on the number. I could do this. I could compare 0.351 and 0.35100000000. Doesn't change the number. Okay, they're still the same, regardless. Okay? Once they have the same amount of digits, you can sort of take away the decimal, so I have 3,510 or 3,510. Okay, they're both the same. Okay? Once you have the same amount of digits. Now, obviously, you don't do that if you don't have the same amount of digits. So if I had this then, let's say I had that, 0.1 and 0.0987. Okay, which would be larger? Staley? Yeah, 0.1. 0.1 would be larger. Okay, Even though the other one has more digits, doesn't matter, like we said. You have 0.1, and I add digits to make it have the same amount of digits as the other number. Oh, 0.0987, my bad. Okay. All right, when you come in tomorrow, we'll do work in class over this lesson, okay? No homework tonight, obviously, it's Wednesday. Okay, but make sure you have your notes and everything with you tomorrow, and we will take care of it tomorrow. You may go.